Welcome back to the AI Ripple Effect podcast, everybody. And today we are lucky enough to be joined by Dustin Brearton, who is the owner of On-Demand Warehousing and Fulfillment. Welcome to the podcast, Dustin.
Good morning. Thank you. Appreciate you having me, Adrian.
It's great to have you here. Why don't we start by you giving us a little bit about your background, Dustin, and what On-Demand Warehousing and Fulfillment does and who your typical customers are?
Yeah, absolutely. Previous to On-Demand, I spent 23 years at a company called Expeditors International. It's a very large freight forwarder. Learned a lot of great things along the way there that helped prepare me for next steps, right? Spent a good deal of time in transportation products. Spent about the last 10 years of my career there in warehousing and distribution. Can't say enough great things about the company, but decided that I wanted something more out of my career path. So my family and I decided to move to Jacksonville, Florida, and found a warehouse company. So we are a full service 3PL in Jacksonville. Came down here with certain intentions, and those obviously change as you go along. A primary background of mine in warehouse distribution is the order fulfillment side of things, right? So pick, pack, that sort of thing. Coming down here to Jacksonville, the port is right here. So we pivoted and we are primarily concentrating on container devanning right now. So it's a large need in the area. And we've been fortunate enough to fill a 50,000 square foot warehouse with primarily container devanning in a short amount of time.
Fantastic. And your customers, are they just any who needs that devanning service?
Customer base wise, we deal with a lot of freight forwarders actually. So we are not opposed to dealing with customers directly, but a lot of the times that business comes to us from a freight forwarder who has a last minute need at the port, needs to get some stuff out of the port so that they're not paying for demurrage per diem, those sorts of things. So they contact us on a short notice and we turn containers for their customers. Sometimes that's short cross-docking where it comes in and goes out the same day. And then other times we have long-term storage where we have some of those products for months at a time.
Okay, so you're in a great position to give a perspective in that environment and more broadly across logistics. So the key trends, are you seeing issues around the labor market, drives for efficiency, et cetera? What are you seeing on the ground?
Today, we're seeing great labor market, at least in Jacksonville. I think we have plenty of exposure locally to the talent that we need to get a hold of. We are able to get next day temp labor in order to do floor loaded containers that we don't have today. So very short term, project based. As far as market conditions go, one thing that I've noticed personally, we saw a big dip in container traffic in the last probably year and a half or so. I see that starting to come back. We see a lot of activity at the port surrounding, inbound containers and the volume starting to come back up.
What was the root cause for that, Dustin?
The increase in volume. I think some of it has to do with the tariffs. There were people that were hesitating for a little while there. I think we're starting to see, in my opinion, we're on the front end of a economic recovery here, and we're starting to see that at the port and starting to get additional volumes that it just didn't exist a year or 2 years ago.
Sure. And regarding that economic uplift, are you seeing that there's a willingness to adopt new technologies like AI? It'd be interesting to get your take on AI, both from a positive aspect for logistics, but also is there any concern of it being a disruptor to the industry?
AI is I think we're in the infancy of a lot of things, but we've already seen some incredible stuff out of it. So for us personally, we're using that more on a support role, more almost consulting wise. We have some nice applications where we're able to put that together. As a founder, I'm coming along right now, I think AI plays a great role in helping me, get educated on certain topics that I wouldn't necessarily have had exposure to with a large Fortune 500 company, right? It has taken the barrier to entry on those places that I hadn't been before and made that timeline a whole lot shorter. As far as AI and our business support, it is that mostly a consulting role and educational purpose right now. Automation wise, we're looking at implementing robots to help with pick, pack, light stuff, nothing incredible today, but more of the assist to pick where it picks up a basket, for instance, and brings it to the packing department rather than full automation with conveyors and things.
Sure. And I guess as a new organization, you're not burdened by that legacy tech. You can start building optimal processes and technology stack from the ground up, which is an enviable position, I guess.
Yeah, 100%. It's a very exciting place to be right now. with the way the market changes consistently and constantly. We're a young enough company that we can move pretty nimbly on those things. When we find the right need in the market or the customer has the right need, we can get those implemented.
Right. And I guess the fact that those historical processes aren't there, you can define those from the ground up. So it must be a great moment. And in that journey, I know it's been a short-ish period of time for you, but what have been the big milestones that you've encountered and any challenges that you've had to overcome in your journey so far, Dustin?
Initially, we started out with a really small 3,000 square foot warehouse here in Jacksonville. Navigating, I'd been involved in contract discussions in the past, right? But navigating those
Yeah.
discussions, making sure that our leases are correct, that we're not being overexposing ourselves through things. That was quite a
Yeah.
process for us. In square feet, there's only so much activity that you can do. So we very quickly filled that small footprint and have moved on to the 50,000 square foot facility that we're in right now. Challenges along the way, more on the space constraint side for us. We grew very quickly into that role. Container devanning takes up quite a bit of space. A
Sure.
single container is, 500 to 600 square feet of a warehouse. So if you're in that industry or in that realm, you can't mess with a small amount of space. So moving
Yeah,
quickly
sure.
to the market and finding that space was really a big differentiator for us to make sure that we have the capacity to service the local market.
Right. I asked this question hypothetically. Obviously, you've got a lot of experience now to date after starting the company. But if you say, with the benefit of hindsight, had a time machine and were able to go back, would there be one thing you would do differently in your journey?
No, honestly, I think today I'm blessed to be where I'm at, so I wouldn't really
Yeah.
want to necessarily change anything that we've done so far. We're relatively new, young company, about a year and a half into it. There's certain, I'm sure, days or moments where I've made a small decision would be great to maybe we pivot and send that container out in a different way. Overall, at a high level, I think we are blessed to be in the situation we're in, and I'm thankful that we're there.
Brilliant. And so that's looking back. Looking forward, what are the ambitious steps that you've got planned, Dustin, for the next, say, 12 months in growing the business?
Yeah, absolutely. So, more on the automation side, the biggest thing that we're doing right now, obviously, is expanding into that container devanning market, specifically supporting
Sure.
Jacksonville, right? So we've launched a few websites that support that business. We are looking at additional leases on space to make sure that we have capacity. As I mentioned before, we had the
Right.
50,000 square feet. That's a pretty daunting task to fill a large warehouse when you first get it.
Sure.
Beautiful looking back on it. We're pretty full right now. So one of our big goals is securing an additional facility and making sure that that facility can support the types of business that we'll bring in. We're also looking to bring on additional order fulfillment accounts. So that's actually where the majority of my background with Expeditors is. I ran a 200,000 square foot facility, at 70 employees. We were shipping 15 to 20,000 orders daily. So
Right.
high volume D2C
Got it.
experience there. Today, our business isn't quite there, but we are looking to get on those milestones to build that type of D2C clientele as well.
Got it. And in that extra capacity that you need, are you looking at a flexible basis as the demand comes in, you're able to flex, or are you going to buy a fixed space to then
Yeah,
hopefully
so
sell?
so in our market and in our industry, I think what we'll need to do is take down a reasonably sized facility. And right now, my goal on that is we always want to have at least 30% of that building filled before we take down a lease of any substantial. That 30% will be a concrete portion of the building that will help anchor us and insulate us against any market conditions. Ideally, we're in that 50 to 60% range, but we need at least 30 in order to move into that facility. And that's where we're at right now is we need to fill this building. We need to get the right pieces in there so that when
Yeah.
we do take that lease down, we'll be able to move an anchor piece of business into that building and not impact the result.
And that projecting of space versus demand, is that something you've got based on your experience, your gut feel, or are you doing any modeling at all to say the numbers tell us this?
So one thing that I do pay close attention to now is container volume and container traffic, specifically in
Right.
Jacksport, right? So Jacksport actually has a lot of awesome things going on right now, expansions with cranes. The city itself is actually much larger than I had imagined before I had moved to the area. So
Right.
we're very excited specifically about how Jacksonville is progressing, how Jacksonville is growing, and the port itself. That is a big part of what my planning process looks like, is what do we
Got you.
think the outlook for that that industry and that market looks like for the next 2 to 3 years. Being that we're a younger company, we're able to, I wouldn't say percentages of market share, but we're able to capture business and grow at a much faster pace than maybe somebody
Sure.
that's been in the industry for a while. Those jumps from 3,000 to 10,000 to 20,000 square feet are a much bigger milestone for us here locally. So as far as forecasting that goes, I rely on the experience, of course. I've seen the ups and downs in the market. I saw what happened in 2008. I saw what happened through COVID, right? So we've got some experience. I'm insulating myself against things like that with,
Right.
making sure that our facilities are large enough, but not too large to burden the operation. And then concentrate a lot on what our local market is going to yield and what that future looks like here.
Amazing. That's really fascinating stuff. And for the folks out there watching and listening who are super keen to find out more about on-demand warehousing and logistics, where can they go, Dustin, to find out more?
LinkedIn, you have on-demand warehousing and fulfillment is the name of the company. You can go to our website at www.ondemandwf.com. I happen to love SEO and all things internet, right? So one of my big marketing strategies has been securing domains that go back that are specific to industries that we're going after, right? So we have some
Right.
fulfillment domains, we have e-commerce prep domains, but really what we're concentrating on right now would be container devanning. So containerdevanning.com is also in our portfolio
Got it.
and
Got it.
leads back to on-demand warehousing. The overall company is on-demand warehousing, but we have several smaller service offerings that are out there and branded. So, and then you can
Um,
find me, Dustin Brearton, at LinkedIn as well. So,
Fantastic. And that's really interesting, Dustin. Thanks very much. We'll make sure that we put those links in the description of the podcast for anybody to find out more about the business. So, listen, thank you, Dustin. Brilliant to have you on board. Great insights. Thank you to everybody for joining today. We will see you in the next episode of the AI Ripple Effect. But for now, Dustin, thanks again and goodbye.
thank you, Adrian. Appreciate it.